That hurt. More verticality. Recording in progress. All right. Welcome to the Straight Red Card. We're back. And we have to
We never left.
We never really left. We just finished our segment with Filippo and Pete, and that will be out. It's out now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
theoretically
it is.
I guess since we brought up the Pete and Filippo, let's talk. We do have a couple of questions that we should have answered in the show. So let's talk about those first.
Yeah, we missed those. I mean, was it like 808 or 908? Like there was like it's like it was hard to keep up with.
Hold on.
Okay, we'll start with you, Wesley, since we missed this one. Which of the dual Nats, the likes of Balogun, Gomez, Tillman brothers, or Mighton, has the best chance of breaking into the World Cup roster? I mean, time period wise, probably none of them for the World Cup yet, but some of them might crack the games leading up to the World Cup.
Nations League.
After qualifying. Yeah, after qualifying. I mean, listen, Balogun.
If you had to pick one, if you had to pick one.
Well, Balogun plays center forward. Let's see how he does while he's out on loan for Arsenal, number one.
Where's he on loan again at?
I can't remember. I'm going to look him up real quick.
He's in Championship, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah, it's Florin Balogun.
Regardless, if I have to pick one, I'm picking Gomez simply because our left back options are limited because Berhalter refuses to pick up the phone and give Scally a call. And that leaves us with Brooks Lennon. So,
I mean, I'd call them all up, frankly. I'd call Malik up. I'd call both of the brothers up. I'd call Mighton up, too. Why not? I mean, Mighton hasn't played a lot lately, but... we always give Berhalter a bit of
guff as far as saying, like, dude, you can call in a couple more players, blah, blah, et cetera, but there are bonuses for the players for just getting called into a World Cup qualifying roster, not even being on the game day, but just the roster. So apart from feeding all the other expenses that they have to pay towards the players, flying them in and housing them in insert hotel here, they also have to pay a game day, or not even a game day roster, just a qualifying roster.
Yeah, but he's just saying who's going to break into the World Cup roster, who has the best chance, and the answer is Gomez. You were right. I mean, if he starts playing for Real Sociedad and he starts playing on a regular basis and he's kicking ass, and he has finally made the bench for the A team, not the B team. He's off the B team, and now he's on the A team. That didn't take long, by the way. I think he played, 3 games for Real Sociedad B, and he's already on the big boy team. So, I mean, let's say he just starts playing game after game after game. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to consider that. And it would be good to cap him as well. So,
I mean, if Mike comes back from his injury or whatever he has as a whole and starts lighting up with Nottingham, maybe he gets a look, not necessarily cracking the World Cup squad. One Tillman brother is at
Greuther Firth.
Yeah, with Green, and he's getting minutes, so it's a possibility. Where's the other Tillman brother at?
Bayern Munich, and he rides Pine there because he's
that's never going to happen. Sorry.
Very young.
Yeah. Regardless, that one's not going to happen. So, I'm sticking with Gomez.
I think that's the only one that really makes sense at this point. Mm-hmm. And I know that Berhalter's meeting. He's in Europe right now, and he's meeting with Flor Balogun. And he plays for Middlesbrough in the championship. Mm-hmm. So there you go. And I don't know if he scored any goals lately. I don't remember seeing any because I keep track of all these guys, and that would really surprise me if he did. No, he's played 8 games for Middlesbrough, no goals. So I've kept an eye on that. No goals. If you got a goal, I would have noticed. Do you think Aronson should go to Leeds? Yeah, I mean, if they stay up.
Yeah. That's the big thing, Kevin. If Leeds stays up, and it's already been reported widely that if they stave off relegation, that they're the top contenders for Aronson at this point.
Yep. And in fact, Aronson won't even talk about it. He's been asked about it 3 or 4 different times. He's like, I don't want to talk about that. My focus is on Salzburg right now.
Well, and the way it should be, quite frankly.
Yeah.
The concept of where he's going isn't even a question for several months at this point, because regardless if he comes out and says like, I'd really like to go to AC Milan, that'd be nice, and then all of a sudden he goes to Leeds, and you're just like,
yeah, we got to wait for the summer transfer window.
Let's wait. And quite frankly, even when the transfer window comes out, he probably shouldn't really specify where he would like to go to the public. He should just say, hey, we got several options. We're going to mull them over and find out which is going to be the best suited for me. And then that way, whenever you end up at a club that,
And we'll see how much a summer world or a winter World Cup screws up the summer transfer window. I mean, that's just a weird thing you got to factor in here. I mean, that's
people may not necessarily want to leave their clubs because they may not get, if they go to a new club, they may not get quite the playing time they're getting at somewhere else.
I mean, that's part of it because the World Cup will be over. I mean, well, no, it will be right before the World Cup.
It'll be 6 months prior.
Right. So that could be like, well, listen, I don't want to lose my spot. You're right. Yeah. So it's like I'm not going to some team I don't even know if I'm going to play for.
Well, that was the quote unquote narrative for Acosta. It wasn't, but that's what the narrative prior to him coming out and saying, yeah, this is bullshit. But was that he didn't necessarily want to go to Europe because he didn't want to lose his potential spot with an Axe, which could have happened, but probably wouldn't have, in all honesty.
Either way, I think wherever Aronson goes, he's playing. He's playing.
Well, when you look at
even like AC Milan, I think he would. I think he would play.
I don't think
AC Milan's that good. I mean, they're not the classic AC Milan we remember, right? It really isn't that kind of AC Milan anymore.
Yeah.
So
weird time. We got Inter running at things.
Like a lot of the top Italian teams just aren't really as good as they used to be. So, I mean, I think he'd be fine there. I mean, I think if Leeds stay up, I say go for it, dude. Mm-hmm. You got a guy there that you know his system. Just go for it.
That's the big thing. Well, that'd be the easiest push into EPL as a whole.
Yeah.
You would never have a better situation. You may not necessarily be a Champions League contending squad by any means, but you're going to a club where a manager clearly likes you, knows the system. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. That would be the ideal spot for him.
Yeah. And the last one, Eric C. Always nice having Peter North on the channel. I guess that's a reference to you. Although
I assumed it was Pete. So no, Peter North is our benefactor. He fronts the bill for us.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yes, I do. I just don't want to say it again because he's in legal trouble.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's why I haven't got my check yet.
Yeah, his ex-wife has a stalking order against him, so he can't come within 500 yards of her or something like that. All right, so then Herc had this thing, and we've already criticized him for this before because he was already saying Pepi had just got off the fucking plane and he's like, he's got to score goals. It's like, well, he just got off the plane. Can you let him settle in, find an apartment, etc.? And now he's played more games and more minutes and still no goals. And the play's been okay. It's going to take him a little bit longer to settle in. And it's not like Augsburg or some, offensive juggernaut. So let's play parts of what Herc said. And we'll stop it when we need to. Because I love Herc. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I love Herculez Gomez.
Absolutely.
I think he's one of the most honest dudes out there.
And this plays to that point, though. I mean, he's being honest in his opinion on that. And don't get me wrong. I think Pepi needs to notch a goal here or there from time sooner rather than later. But to your point, he's just it's a culture shock. He just got there learning to work with his teammates in the off season. I mean, he was like what 3 months with really no games outside of the qualifiers. So I mean, it's going to take time, and at least it seems like the German press and the German, at least Augsburg as a whole, have started taking that stance of, hey, this guy isn't going to be our savior right now. He's going to be a long-term project. We want to make sure that he gets adjusted to this league, and we do him proper, you know.
Well, they flip-flopped on that pretty quickly, didn't they? Because they made him
help.
out to be the savior, and then they're like, "Oh fuck, we fucked up."
Yeah, they call that. Well, I mean, how often do you think that as a president, do you think the news would get out that you're peeing on your players' legs? I mean, come on. Allegedly.
I almost forgot about that. Almost totally forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Totally forgot about the peeing on his leg thing.
God.
So, yeah, that was not true, people. The manager didn't pee.
He waited for the third date
on Pepi's leg. Yeah. So, third game.
They're a very classic and old-fashioned team. So, yeah, third date.
I think that sometimes that Seb goads Herc into these comments. So
he pushes him one way to get.
I think he does. He's like, say it. You want to say it?
Do it.
So let's play a little bit of Herc on his panic.
Very good at math, but I did the math today. 152 days since Ricardo Pepi's last club goal. Is it?
So first off, a club goal. I mean that's a bit excessive because they're referring to a game in October, which is basically when FC Dallas's season ended. And then like, well, you can't sit there and say like, well, November, December, January until now he didn't score a goal. Okay, that's fair, but he's really only been playing for a handful of weeks.
Let's remember the Bundesliga has a winter break, so it's not like he's been there that long.
I guess the bigger question would be is how many minutes have occurred in Bundesliga that he's played that he hasn't scored. Yes, I mean, that'll play a big factor. But on top of that, again, he's new to the league, new to everything there. And he's missed a couple chances. But as a whole, like you mentioned earlier, they're not a highly offensive producing team.
Yeah. So. I mean, that's the relevant number. How many minutes has he played for Augsburg? I really don't give a fuck about the rest of it. So...
Geez, if you're worried about 150 some odd days of no scoring goals, man, break that down to seconds, and Pepi's really fucked.
Days doesn't mean shit. Days is the dumbest number to use. Sorry, Seb, but that I would have gone with minutes played or minutes played per game or whatever. But
I mean, you could go by minutes. You can simply say, like, I'm going to throw out some random numbers here, but let's just say he's 350 minutes into playing in Bundesliga and not scoring a goal. I mean,
it happens.
You're talking about 3 or 4, like full length games total. I mean, over the course of the entire time he's been there. And I'm making those numbers up, guys. Don't get me on that. But you can break it down that way, and you can say, yeah, he hasn't scored a goal in like 4, 90-minute games. Okay, that's you can make that argument, and you can debate that argument. But I don't know, throwing out a huge offseason.
He could even get more specific and say, here's how many chances he's had at Augsburg, and here's how many he's blown.
Mm-hmm.
So really
that's a great one, too. You can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had 6 clear chances of being able to score a goal. Hasn't scored one.
And I think the number's more like 3.
I know. And they weren't getting random numbers here.
And I don't think they're clear either. I think they're chances.
Sure.
3 legit chances to score a goal, and he's missed them all. Okay. That's more legit. That's how you have to talk about this. Doing it like this is overly dramatic. It's like, oh, for a third of a year, he's just been garbage. And I don't like that. But okay, let's keep
almost half a year. Yeah. No, again, factually speaking, he's not wrong. That's true. But again, he hadn't been playing for like 3 months leading until he made the transfer. So again,
at club.
Yeah, at club level, yes. So talking about what he's done at Augsburg at this point would be a better basis for an argument, I guess.
And I don't think this video is going to help Ricardo Pepi's confidence one bit. Not that it's their job.
Our video will. I'll tag him in it.
Not that it's their job to do that.
No.
But it would be nice for them to have a bit of understanding that this kid's just thrown into a culture where he doesn't speak the language, and he's just settling in. His parents just visited and went to
after
the
like
last
2
game.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's 19 years old. Let's just go easy here.
Do you have that on your calendar too, Derek?
No. And I don't like this, and I don't want to get into this where that's something that we talk about.
Okay. All right, let's continue.
The time to hit the panic button?
Yeah.
No.
So listen, you remember that?
You don't have to stop it. I was just replying.
The over-under.
Yeah,
it was
remember.
5.5. Okay, you've got 10 games. He needs six goals. Are you going to retract that? Do you want to go back on that bet?
Yes, I definitely said the over, and at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say he's not going to get there.
Okay, October last year, last goal. Okay, and that was 2 goals versus Jamaica, U.S. men's national team. Since then, for what is FC Dallas, the U.S. men's national team, and now FC Augsburg, by my count, I think that's 13 games, 100 and what? How many days did you say?
152.
Part of the process of being.
Okay. So, again,
Yeah.
I mean, looking at 13 games not scoring, yeah, that sounds awfully bad. But, I mean, you have to really look at who's scoring for the U.S. national team at this point.
And how bad Dallas was last
strikers.
season.
It's not the strikers putting the goals away. It's our wingers. It's our midfield. I mean, outside of Pepi's production in this qualifier, Berhalter hasn't gotten shit from his nines.
None of them.
I'm placing the blame on Berhalter and the formation and the tactics because I mean we have people who can score the goals in the 9 position, but they're not getting the opportunities that you would expect. So again, it's kind of while factually accurate, it's also kind of disingenuous.
It's painting a very depressing, negative picture. And I think we need to give Pepi some time here, let him settle in, and eventually this will work. But yes, they weren't so happy about him going to Augsburg in the first place. A lot of people weren't. It may have not been the best decision. But he is playing, and, I think it's too early to say this is some sort of Sargent situation. So, I mean, it could turn into that.
Well, I mean, going off of Hercules' comment about the transfer fees for players and how you make a lot of money, I think he threw out 10% or whatever. So, I mean, that move to Augsburg might not be the best option as far as staying up in Bundesliga, but he did make $2 million off that move.
Exactly.
And again, similar to how we talked about Sargent possibly going down with Norwich. I mean, again, Pepi getting playing time in Bundesliga 2 may not be ideal if they do drop down.
Right.
But finding his form in Germany wouldn't be a bad option. Wouldn't be the worst case scenario.
No, it wouldn't be. And I mean, more than likely Augsburg will figure out a way to survive.
Sure.
But if they don't and he goes down one level, I mean, he's going to play every game after that. So it'll be good development for him. And hopefully they pop right back up. Either way, this is way early in the game to be panicking about Pepi. I don't like pushing the panic button. I will push I'm kind of concerned button, but I'm not going to push the panic button. So, which is what they just said.
Yeah, we need to start seeing some production level, Pepi. Let's go.
Yeah.
But again, not to beat a dead horse here, but we talked about Augsburg simply not being an overly productive offensive juggernaut by any means. So even if he's not scoring goals and he's still producing opportunities for other players or maybe getting an assist here or there, that could play a factor in not saying that he's failing at this point. This is push the panic button. But I mean, if he's doing a lot of the dirty work that you would expect that leads to the team succeeding, which is one thing we saw like with Sargent over at Bremen. He wasn't scoring bucket loads of goals. And mind you, he was the leading goal scorer. But he wasn't scoring a bucket load of goals. But he still did all the dirty work and I guess it didn't stave off relegation the second time. But
right,
it wasn't because of his effort on the field. In this situation, Pepi's had a couple of moments here and there. He's still adjusting to the speed of play. He even talks about that. And this is the big thing that a lot of people talk about when they move from MLS to Europe. And the first thing they talk about is the speed of play, speed of decision making. You don't have 2, 3, 4 seconds on the ball to look up, find out what you want to do, and move forward. Now it's all just like bam, bam, bam. Busio said the same thing. Tessman said the same thing. So,
yep. And, you'll adjust. I mean, it's just like playing FIFA and moving up to the next level from whatever to pro or whatever. When you move up to that next level, you're like, oh, fuck, this game's way harder. Well, yeah, it's going to be way harder. It's a lot faster. And I know that's just a metaphor, so I don't take that literally. But that is what it's like. It's like, when we went to the state finals after easily crushing every team in Hardin County in Kentucky. Then we had to play the big boys, and that was a totally different fucking game. Now, they were better. Ballard was just a really good team. They were solid. So we didn't get to play a lot of top teams all year. So we were just crushing people. So by the time we got to the state finals and we started playing good teams, we had to adjust. It was something that doesn't happen overnight. So let's continue, I guess.
Being a young player is learning how to cope with these streaks or these droughts, if you will.
I'll agree with that.
He's got tons of intangibles. It comes with every forward's life. What worries me is the patience, because they don't have a lot of room. 10 games, okay? They're in 15th place. They're tied on points with Hertha Berlin, who are already in the relegation zone. 4 points above Stuttgart. Difficult times ahead, and I'm not sure if he's going to get that benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure if we're going to see Ricardo Pepi in Bundesliga 2.
What? We're not sure we're going to see him in Bundesliga 2
next season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Okay, he's not sure that they would see them. So he basically is saying that it's possible that Augsburg is relegated. Yes, definitely possible.
Yeah, but he did a double negative.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop too.
It was a fucked up sentence.
It was not the right way of using it.
Yeah. So, yeah, but we already talked about it. I mean, if he goes down, he goes down. He's gonna have to live with it, and it's not the end of the world. And
I agree with him on the sense that as a striker, you're going through these streaks of goalless streaks, or just no chances, or sometimes you go through streaks of goals and then all of a sudden you hit it. But that's a learning curve for every striker as a whole.
Yep.
I think Augsburg is out there again pushing the narrative now that they're not solely relying on Pepi to save them. They're going to give him a chance to adjust, and this is something that our good friend Berlin Amerikaner says, or said many a time about him, is that in Germany the people know that there's going to be the people already know that there's going to be time for adjustment. They're not expecting players to come in and immediately just light up the world. So they're despite what Hercules is saying here, I think the German population and even the Augsburg fans are probably willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and hoping that the current crop that are already adjusted to the league can find a way to continue getting some results to keep above relegation.
Well, the only thing about that is that they're going to give them a benefit of a doubt for about 2 more games. Then when the shit starts hitting the fan and they need results to stay up, that's when the real pressure, it's almost already starting now, but it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter as the end of the season goes. Because, I mean, just look at how crushed the Werder Bremen team was when they got relegated. It's just devastating. And Augsburg has done so much work to get up into Bundesliga. To have them go down like this, it would be horrible. And then, of course, Pepi might get labeled or blamed for it because he was the biggest signing they've ever done, and he did nothing. So he's going to have to pop a goal in here sooner or later. But I'm not ready to hit the panic button. That's all I'm saying. I'm not panicking yet. So let's finish this baby off. We're close to it.
Yeah, we're going to have to branch the rest of this into a different video. We're already 23 minutes in.
Yeah.
So I think this is all which perspective you look at it from, right? If you look at it from a U.S. perspective, I actually don't think it's time to hit the panic button because you never should have been relying on a 19-year-old to qualify you for a World Cup. Plus, as
well said.
In defense against that, we're relying on a basically a U23 team to do that. Not just the 19-year-old, but a U23 team.
Not Augsburg.
No, from the U.S. standpoint is what he's saying.
No, I didn't get that.
That's what he said. He said from the U.S. standpoint, we shouldn't hit the panic button because we never should have relied on a 19-year-old for World Cup qualifying.
Well,
that's literally what he said.
That's off base because we're talking about Augsburg,
and he's saying. But he brought up that he's going to go into Augsburg, I'm sure. But he's talking about at this point just the U.S. men's national team standpoint.
Two totally different things to me. Two totally different things.
Sure, I wasn't the one who made the comment. I'm just commenting off.
That's
of
what I'm disagreeing with him. I don't even know why he brings this up. That's irrelevant. How he's doing for country. That doesn't matter right now. What we're focused on, or what he should be focused on, and what the show is focused on, is Augsburg. And now he's going to talk about the U.S. men's national team. Well, who else we got to rely on? Seb, DK he's injured. All right. I mean, you could call in PFOC. That's an option. Sargent has been not really doing much at Norwich, so we did rely on him, and he's done okay for us. I mean, he's had a little bit of a drought. I get it. But, Seb, focus on Augsburg. But anyhow, sorry.
You got Jordan Peacock right now, who is red hot. You got Josh
not anymore.
Who started 3 straight games. I know, not as a striker. You got Daryl Dike, who's back to training now. So you have other options if Greg Berhalter's willing to go with those other options, even if it's one that he knows and he's comfortable with, like a Jesus Ferreira. There are other options for the U.S. For Ricardo Pepi, I think it is time to hit the panic alarm. One, you mentioned Bundesliga. 2, I just think at this point, Herc, we can probably look at this say there's very little evidence that this was the right move, right? Both in terms of where he ended up, Augsburg, a team that doesn't create, is in a relegation dogfight, and also the timing of it, right? 1, you walk into a team mid-season, so you don't have time to acclimate yourself. And 2, in the summer, we know there would have been way more options, right? Assuming that he stays playing and assuming that he continued what he was doing at FC Dallas, there would have been better choices for him than a relegation-threatened Augsburg. I'm not saying he should have been listening to Football Americas and Jurgen Klinsmann way back in the day.
That's near the end anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, it basically repeats that exact phrase right there. I mean, you can make the argument that going to Augsburg may not have been the best option. It's one that everybody can make.
Dude, let's say he stays at FC Dallas and then this drought continues. Guess what? He doesn't get his $2 million.
That's the thing. Well, I don't think another $20 million bid would have came in.
It could have only gone down. Gone down.
Wolfsburg was sitting at what, like $8 million or something like that?
Yeah.
The $20 million seems excessive, and I'm kind of surprised that they jumped that drastically. But it's. I mean, you could have said he would have scored goals at FC Dallas. There's no doubt in my mind. He would have notched some goals, and that could have been better for the U.S. men's national team in World Cup qualifying as a whole. But I don't know. I think the move to Augsburg is not a bad option. I just think that obviously he's jumping into the world at a relegation fight immediately, and people are going to expect results. Period.
Yep, but you know what? So what? He goes down, goes to Bundesliga, scores a ton of goals next season. No issue. I mean, listen, we've already seen guys playing in lower leagues who Greg will call up if they're scoring goals. DK was scoring goals like in bunches in the championship. He got called up. You can do the same thing in Bundesliga.
The guy from CRB, what's his name?
Novakovic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, insert any other number of lesser European league here, or MLS for that matter. Going to championship, going to Bundesliga 2 is not the end of the world. It's not ideal by any means, and I'd much rather Sargent and Pepi stay up. But again, going down and finding your form wouldn't be the worst case scenario.
Okay, so let's link this up to Sargent because they lost again, but this was a cup game, and they didn't even play for their best team. He missed 2 good scoring opportunities, a header that he blew, a shot that he blew, but he did get an assist in the end, and he worked his ass off. So I wanted to at least bring that up. I just think that, and then Greg went to the game and watched him play. So we might see Sargent in this next window. I think there's a chance that could happen. I mean, not based off of that performance, but
I mean, when it wasn't. I mean, I guess I didn't get to watch the game. I only saw the highlights and obviously his assist. So I mean, it's a possibility that Berhalter calls him in as a versatility option. I mean, obviously he can play the 9, so he's up there with Zardes.
Yep,
he can play on the wing. Depending on the formation, if you played something else besides a 4-3-3, he could play in the midfield, not as an 8 or more like we talked about, like when Ido was fine, was healthy, and Norwich was playing the 4-2-2-2. He was playing the Landon Donovan Dempsey role behind the two strikers.
That's not even worth bringing up because it's not going to happen.
Berhalter's not going to do it. I'm just saying
it's not going to happen.
I'm just saying that there's options you can utilize a player like Sargent, whereas you bring in somebody like Zardes, you're pigeonholed to that 9, and that's it.
I mean
he could theoretically play out wide, but I mean he doesn't.
As far as overall contributing to the team, Sargent's doing a lot more than DK, and certainly more than Pepi is right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to see Greg visit. Well,
and given how Berhalter utilizes the 9s, you don't necessarily need an informed striker.
You don't, but you just need somebody who's
to bust their ass playing with their back to the goal. That's about it at this point.
Right. And so bust your ass. And if you get played as a winger, bust your ass. And Sargent's a bust your ass guy. So I think that'll work. And then the last topic of the night, and then we're wrapping it up, is Hoppe. Hoppe played 22 minutes. And we kind of got a foreshadowing of this. It was really funny. So got some heads up. Hey, Hoppe's probably going to play today. I'm not going to get into all the details, but the reason is there was some pressure applied to the team, basically saying, you better play him. You got to play him now. You got to play him. Give him some minutes.
Or nut up or sell him or something.
Yes.
Loan him out. Do something.
So there were meetings that were had, and it was basically play his ass or he's gone. He's going to force himself out of there. And so he got 22 minutes, but the problem was they got totally dominated by Real Sociedad. And he barely touched the ball. Barely touched the ball the whole 22 minutes. They were playing defense almost the majority of the time. So
I feel like some of that's on Hoppe. I mean, he still doesn't know how to speak Spanish, so he can't ask the team for the ball. Clearly, that's the problem.
It's like, ball? Give me ball. Give me
ball low.
Me? Ball. Give me ball. Well, that's just, I mean, they got pretty much.
Pelota.
They got dominated by Real Sociedad. But the news is, yes, Hoppe got some playing time. And I'm sure Greg got informed about it. And, Morris hasn't played that well so far, start of the MLS season. So, I don't know. It's an option out wide because
again,
it probably won't
another 9 that can play multiple positions.
It's something to consider. He played a lot of midfield when he was younger as well, so he might do well there as more of the kind of freelance midfielder. So, we'll see what happens. I just wanted to bring it up because it's important that people know that Hoppe played. He played, and he might play next game too, as far as I hear. Although he didn't get much of a chance in this game. I mean, fucking Mallorca was horrible in this game. Real Sociedad took their ass to the fucking. They're like whoosh, 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 smacking that ass because they weren't good. And by the way, Jonathan Gomez made the bench for Real Sociedad. So he's off the B team. He's on the big boy team now, and he might have to wait a little bit longer.
He may not necessarily be off the B team, but he
they kind of
team too.
Yeah, sometimes they flip flop him back just to make sure they're getting playing time. So he might go back to the B team, then back to the A team until they feel really comfortable and they're up like 3-0 in a game. They're like, let's throw this Gomez kid in there and see what he can do. But it's good news for us, and I'm not going to cover the rest of the Yanks Abroad at this point. No. Not going to do it. No. We're 33 minutes in. So I want to thank everybody. Also, by the way, the other video that came up was the guy that was filmed getting bitten in half by a great white shark 2 weeks ago. Did you see that one yet?
No.
There were a bunch of guys that were fishing off the California coast, I believe. Oh, no, Australian coast. Off a cliff into the ocean. And it's like where the seals hang out too. And this guy. Smart. This guy likes to swim. He's done it like 100 times, the same route every morning. So there are a bunch of guys fishing and throwing fucking bait into the water, and their fucking seals hanging out on the cliff. And this guy, for the 101st time, swam by the same spot and got bitten in fucking half by a fucking great white shark. It's all on footage. It's horrible, dude. It is gross and it's horrible. There's blood all over the place. And like at the end of the video, it's just his torso. But he got split in half. It's just his torso, like floating in the water. And then the fucking shark comes up and eats his fucking torso. It's like, what? What did I just watch? Thank God he was dead already. God damn. Anyhow, crazy. That's why I don't swim in the ocean, folks. And you shouldn't too. I think that's a bad
I'm surprised
idea.
something like that can make the YouTube algorithm at all.
The original video was canceled, but so many people copied it and pasted it. It's back on YouTube. And I'm not recommending anybody with a weak stomach to go watch that because I didn't know what I was watching at the time. It just said shark attack in Australia. And I watched it and it was like, now, fatal shark attack in Australia. Now, they missed the original attack. Apparently, the shark breached and fell on top of him, knocked him into the water, then got him when he was under the water, ripped his ass in half. Or something like, oh, no, not right away. And then he started swimming to shore after the shark landed on top of him. And he was screaming help and all this shit. And then the shark came up and went, boom, split him in half and shook him and all that shit.
Could this
Horrible.
be like, could this be the equivalent of seeing those humpback whale breaches water and lands on boat and you watch it and it's clearly CG?
Yeah, this is not CG. This is some guy's cell phone. And I've read the actual, I'm not going to say the guy's name that died. He was training for one of those swimming competitions where they swim in the waters out in the ocean and shit. But there's like, 50 triathlon, I think where they swim, then they ride the bike, then they run. Yeah, he was training for that. And he'd been training along this shoreline for a long time. It was just a matter of time. People who know that section of the water have said, yeah, like that's shark killing grounds. Why he was swimming through that, I don't understand. He should have known better. Nobody swims there.
Here's an article, February 16th. Horrifying last moments of swimmer who was eaten alive.
Yep. And in fact, the shark finished
Little
him
Bay
off.
Beach in Sydney's east, yeah.
Yep, they finished him off. There's like a chunk left of him when the shark was done. It was like a 20-foot great white. It's a big boy, a really big female, and it just took his ass out. And
but it's fascinating, which is the reason why I brought up the possibility of it being CG. Is man, when sharks bite people, I mean, because that's obviously a concern for most people, yourself included, about swimming in the ocean. You're gonna get bit by a shark. But when sharks bite human beings, usually what ends up happening is they're like, "Oh, this is way too salty. This isn't what I usually eat," and they release it, and then you die out from blood exposure.
It's way too bony. Usually.
Or whatever.
Because seals are really fatty. That's what they're going after usually. But as one scientist said, listen, some sharks, if they're really hungry, they don't fucking care if you're bony.
Yeah.
They're going to eat your ass because they're hungry and they haven't caught anything for a while. And if that's the case, and this was a female shark, apparently the researcher said, and she needs to provide, she may be pregnant. She needs extra, calories or food or whatever.
Anything.
Yeah, so that dude was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But
this is the worst, but whatever. Oh.
And there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I can't believe you posted this on YouTube. I mean, it's horrible. I get it. It is horrible. But it might, I don't know, give somebody the idea that don't do this. This is not a good thing to do at dawn when it's still like the sun hasn't risen all the way up yet. Like that's the worst time to swim. That's when sharks are there. I'm just going on with the scientists said in the article. I mean, that's all. But it's just horrifying, and that's why I'm afraid of sharks. There you go.
I know that the rarity of getting bitten by a shark.
It's rare.
But fuck it.
Dude, I know my luck. You give me 100.
Gambling.
You give me 100-sided die, and if I roll a 1, I'm gonna get eaten by a shark. I guarantee I roll a 1. Boom. Boop. 1. There's Derek eaten by a shark. So I'm not fucking with that. And then if you have to roll that 100-sided die 101 times every morning before you get up and swim in the ocean, well, then you're really fucked. Boy, that was a dark ending. That was a really dark ending to this show. All right. It's not the first time we've had a dark ending. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking, subscribing, sharing it with your grandma. And we'll be back next week with more shows and, maybe more news. We'll see how Jesse does in the weekend, Jesse Marsh and Leeds do this weekend. And there might be something to talk about. So we'll see you then.
That hurt. More verticality. Recording in progress. All right.